I canceled my direct mail campaign and all of my agent follow up. But if you're new here, hi, I'm Sabrina and I am failing forward to build a more durable life. And today is very much focused on the failing part. So if you have ever tried something, and I mean really tried, and it did not work out, this video is for you. Okay, so how did I even have this like direct mail campaign and this whole agent kind of follow up system in the first place? Well, let's go back a bit to the first house flips that I did. So my husband and I, we flipped two houses. And we got those deals through wholesalers. And this was really kind of the first time that we really saw ourselves as like investors, right? Like I had a couple of rental properties. We had gotten one that was a fixer upper together, but this was like the real deal. Like we're kind of in the business of like doing real estate. And so as I mentioned, I got those deals from wholesalers. The margins on them were pretty slim. And basically kind of the only reason why we didn't end up underwater is because we were doing so much of it ourselves. So after that, I was like, okay, we need to go direct to seller, right? I need to build a kind of system to be able to go direct to seller so I don't have to keep paying assignment fees to wholesalers. And so that is really how this whole idea and plan kind of started, because I wanted to get more off-market leads. So what I did was the money that we got from the flips, I put all of it back into the business and invested in off-market marketing. And so what that looked like was over 9 months. So I committed to the campaign for 9 months and 2 mailing houses. So I spent 6 months with one, but you know, things were kind of like, I felt like it was a bit slow and didn't get as good response as I was hoping. And so then I switched to another one for another 3-month campaign. And so, you know, I just like committed to that for 9 months, because everyone always says, you know, direct mail, it takes a while. You know, you've got to kind of like, you know, it's multiple touches before anything happens. And so that is what I did. But it's not just mail. Because along with that, that also meant a whole CRM system build out, because, you know, when the calls come in, you need to be able to track and organize and set follow-ups, which also meant that there was a phone number attached to that account. I also, with the first service, signed up for with the first company, I signed up for a call service, an answer service, because I never wanted to miss, you know, a potential lead. And so I had built out all of these things, right? We've got mail, we've got CRMs, we've got a phone number, we've got a call service, like all of that ready to go to be able to do these off-market deals. And at the same time, I also built up an agent kind of follow-up system sort of plan. So I made another video about this, actually 2 videos about that, where I cold called agents in the area and then set up a very intentional kind of follow-up system to check in with those agents every few months, with the hopes that that would lead to some kind of, you know, like pocket deal that was basically off market, but that the agent would know about. And so those were kind of the 2 systems, right? So I had all this investment into this direct mail campaign, and I'd also put a whole lot of time and energy into doing these agent calls and setting up this follow-up system. And on top of all of that, I had also started yet another real estate coaching program where I was getting very serious about dialing in my buy box and getting very focused on like the specific area and my specific strategy, which was something that was quite helpful. And in fact, in that process, I got my most recent rental not using either of these systems that I've talked about. It was just through another wholesaler, but I digress. And so that was what I had built, right? So I wasn't dabbling, like I was doing the things. So it might be helpful to think about, well, okay, like, well, what was the goal? So as I mentioned, this started after we flipped houses, and we were kind of thinking like, oh, well, we could totally do house flipping, right? Like I understand the kind of deal finding and analysis, and my husband understands the rehab and the construction side, and we just really thought that that was going to work. And so I was thinking, like that would be something that we would do. And then I don't know, like the reality really started to creep in. And so I think I was really kind of settling around like 4 deals a year would be amazing. And that started to morph from just flips to also including some more buy and holds. Because, like I said, we'd had a couple of properties before the flips. And so that just kind of sounded good. But the reality of 4 deals a year, while it sounds really modest, especially in the ecosystem of, like really big kind of real estate businesses, that is significant acquisitions work. It takes quite a bit to be able to, hit a deal every 3 months or so. And like, it became more and more clear to me that that deal hunting, that acquisitions is really a job of its own. And if you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you know that I work a full-time job and always have, even through all these like flipping the houses and all these other things. And so I just started to realize that this core job of acquisitions is one that I really didn't want. And outside of that, even there was this broader, we're in this broader kind of economic climate where prices are really high, rates are really high. And so both flipping and holding are more challenging, right? So like what it costs to acquire, what it costs to rehab are going up. And certainty in the actual after repair value is going down because prices in a lot of places are softening. But then on the flip side, the high interest rates also then makes cash flow really constrained, and you might end up with properties that can't sustain themselves once you put the long-term debt on them, or not can't sustain themselves, are losing money, which you don't want, at least for someone like me who, is just kind of like a small investor. I don't make a whole lot of money. And so if you rack up a bunch of properties that don't cash flow on their own, and or have, a series of repairs or CapEx that kind of come due at the same time, we would be in a real financial tight situation if that were to happen. And so kind of racking up those kinds of rentals also feels very risky, not like good investing. And so, and like, to be honest, I really started to kind of shift to sort of be like, well, I own property that is at these like 7 and 8% rates across mortgages or HELOCs. And so honestly, like debt pay down sounds really attractive to be able to get those guaranteed returns, as opposed to all of the like risk and time and energy and headache of trying to acquire more and then hold on to it, right? So it was both kind of this subtle feeling of like, I'm not really sure this is what I want, and this broader context of even if it is, it's so much harder to do. And then reality really set in because the money ran out. Like I said, we put the money from the flips, and that was going to be for this direct mail. That was kind of what was sustaining. And while I was having all of these feelings, everything was sort of on auto pay, right? Like the call service was coming out, the CRM payments were coming out, the mail drops would happen, and those would come out of the account. And then the account went empty. And at that point, I couldn't keep going even if I wanted to, right? There was no way that I could maintain all of that just on my salary, just on our income alone. And when that happened and I really had to just come to grips and make a decision, like I broke down. I just cried at the kitchen table because it didn't work. Like no deal has come from any of these systems that I built. And that mentality of, like just around the next corner, it's just at the next mail drop, it's just at the next mail drop. Like it just wasn't working. And it didn't work, and it hasn't worked. And like, just nothing came of it. And the weight and the reality of that failure was really overwhelming. And I was just ugly crying at the kitchen table because I was like the money is gone. Like it I don't know how else to describe this. Like it's gone, and I can't get it back. And I don't have any of the, fantastic deals and cash flow and properties and stuff that time, effort, and investment were supposed to bring. And like, I'm not even sure that it was wrong to try, but like, I don't know. But the only thing I do know is that the money is gone and that there are no contracts or properties on the other side of it. So what now? So now I'm unwinding. Like, I have to figure out how to transition off of the CRM platform because I don't want to keep paying for all of these subscriptions. I had to call the mail house, and just cancel. Because I was in a 3-month contract, and I was like, all right, this is it, we're done. And so, like I said, so now it's like unwinding the CRM. And so the few people who did, reach out and that I have been able to talk to, I got to figure out how to move their information out of there. Like I said, the number is attached to the CRM, which went out to all of those thousands of mail pieces that I did send out. And so I want to preserve that because, who knows, like, as people always say, maybe a year or two from now, someone might call. And so I don't want that number to just die. And so I have to research new phone platforms and make the decision of whether the payment to the call service is worth it or not. And so I don't think it is. And so that means that now I'm going to need to make sure that I've got the number out and cancel that service, and then set up a new system that is more manageable, that I can actually stay on top of, that just costs a lot less money. And so, okay, what is the point of this video besides to just air my failure in public? I think that the internet shows us wins. And then if we're not winning, it's as if we're told it's because it's your fault. Like, this is certainly something that I remember when I was calling around for like coaching programs and stuff. Like, if you were ever on a discovery call, you talk to someone, and I always ask the same question. Well, like, who doesn't make it? What does it look like for the people who are not successful? And without fail, everyone says it's just the people who disengaged. It's just the people who, signed up and kind of fizzled out. And it's as if the broader economic context doesn't matter. If you follow our system, you will also find success. And so I think that's what underlies this whole, like, oh, you just need this other program. You just need this new strategy. You just need this other podcast of this person who's exactly like you, who somehow was able to make themselves millions. But I've met people as we've worked on properties and have tried to do this. And like, there are so many people who have really tried, right? Like the guy who put in our HVAC system had tried. The guy who picked up our dumpster, like, he also was very, very eager and interested in trying. But like, none of these people end up on YouTube. None of these people are guests on podcasts. But like, I just don't think that we are the exception. The people who tried, really, really, really tried, who invested the time, the energy, and the money, the actual dollars into their attempt, So many of them went back to installing HVAC systems and picking up dumpsters from construction sites. And so, like I said, I just do not think that we are the exception. I think we are the rule. And I don't know. I just think that that is worth saying out loud.